Hello, my name is Saul. I have a question about the yield analysis from SAM. Have there been any comparison for the yield analysis with SAM compared to some of the commercially available programs like PVSys, PolySun, and PVSol in terms of accuracy or correlation?
Yes, we've done some of that work sort of internally and informally. We haven't had published anything yet. SAM consists of several different performance models, and each one has been validated or compared to existing models or existing measured data in different ways. So the answer to that question sort of varies from performance model to performance model. But that's actually a work in progress, and it's something that the folks at Sandia are working on now for the PV model. So hopefully we'll be seeing some published materials on that. One of the challenges with that kind of validation work is that it's really hard to set things up in the different models to make sure you're comparing the same things. There are a lot of, the different models have different ways of representing the D-rate factors and so on that, have a big impact on the results, but also sort of hide the impact of the actual calculations in the algorithms themselves. So it's something that we are looking at. It's something that's not really straightforward to do. So I hope that's a helpful answer.
Thank you.
Once again, you may press *1 to ask a question on the audio portion. And one moment, please. And currently, no questions have populated.
Okay. Just one follow-up comment on that sort of the validation question is we did an exercise, I guess last summer, where we were able to collect some measured data for some real PV systems, and then compare. We ran this. We tried to set up the SAM model for to replicate the system configuration as closely as possible, and then compare the two. And one thing that we found, was that when it snows on a real system, the array gets covered with snow and it doesn't produce any energy. And SAM doesn't have a way of knowing that there's snow on the ground or how much is on the ground and how long it's going to take to melt. So you end up with, SAM thinking it's a nice, bright, clear day with lots of light reflecting off the ground. So so that's a good day in SAM, whereas in reality there was no production in the system. So that's just an example of sort of what the validation question is how do you handle that kind of an effect that's not handled in the model, and the model isn't really designed to handle it, yet it when you're doing a comparison it creates a difference in the results.
I do have a question on the audio portion now, if you'd like to take it.
Yes, please.
Mr. Tim Johnson, your line is open.
Yes, hello. In using the new version of SAM, I use the multiple simulations very frequently in my analysis. And what I've noticed is when you combine two systems together in there, the LCOE and the aggregate kWh per kW doesn't always add up correctly?
Yeah, unfortunately, the multiple subsystems feature is broken in the current version. We managed to break it, and we don't have a way to, unfortunately, we can't issue an update to fix it. So that's why your observation is correct, and it's because it's broken. And we've actually posted a notice about it on the support forum.
Oh, okay.
So thanks for bringing that up. It's broken. It'll be fixed in the next version.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, if you'd like to ask a question, press star 1. Val Haran, your line is open again.
Hi, it's Saul again. Another quick question. Is there any plan to show a loss analysis, meaning that while I understand the whole derating aspect right there, but after the simulation is done, to show for that particular site where the losses were in terms of temperature losses, irradiation losses, et cetera. So a breakdown post-simulation showing me what the losses are. And of course, that will vary from site to site. Temperature and radiation is different.
Okay, thanks for the question. There's a couple of places where you can kind of get a handle on where the losses are occurring, and that is, so I'm assuming we're talking about PV here.
Yes, of course.
I'm looking at a PV system, and among the default graphs here is something called annual energy flow. It happens to be at the end of the list here. So this shows the kilowatt hours at various points in the system. This is the nominal DC array. So this is if the array is operating at nominal capacity. And then here's gross array, the derated DC output, all the way out to your net AC kilowatt hours produced by the system. So the difference between these bars represents losses at different points in the system. You can also look at it on an hourly basis. Not quite sure why I've got to run simulations here. Data tables should be showing me some stuff here, but not. You can plot. You can look at the incident total radiation, and then gross DC output, derated DC output. So you can actually see that on an hourly basis as well. So there is, I think that, at least in part, addresses that need.
Thank you.
And you can export these values to Excel, too, if you want to manipulate them in Excel. Okay. Any other questions?
Once again, press star 1 to ask a question. John Barnes, your line is open.
Hi, Paul. Happy morning to you. Paul, I think it would behoove you to have the PV-SYST standard output as one of the defaults in the, in the pretty table generation.
You mean this reports thing?
Yes, have that as a default.
Use the PV-SYST report as a model, you mean?
As a default, yes.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for that suggestion. And actually, we if anybody would like to send us samples of reports, we'd be happy to create some templates to replicate those. So if you've got a PV-SYST report that you like, please send it on to us, and we'll try to set it up as a default template.
And once again, it's star 1 to ask a question. And currently, no questions have queued up.
Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap up then. Thank you all for your participation and for your great questions. And remember to come back to the SAM website. On the learning page, we'll be posting links to the recordings of these webinars along with supporting materials. And you can check back to that learning page for announcements of upcoming webinars as well.